The morning sun stretched its rays, creating elongated silhouettes over the revered dueling grounds as Kira Shadowmere firmly held the time-honored blade, a legacy of her clan for 7 generations. Across the circle of worn stones, her opponent stood with an exasperating calm, a young man barely past his 20th year who asserted no family name, no heritage, no claim to defy the traditions of the Highland clans. Final opportunity to retract your challenge, outsider, Kira proclaimed, her voice resonating through the assembly of clan members. You are unaware of our traditions. The unfamiliar figure, who had introduced himself simply as Aldrich, shook his head with a deliberate slowness. His simple attire and ordinary looks identified him as one of the common folk. Yet there was an intensity in his unwavering gaze that caused even the most seasoned clan warriors to feel a sense of unease. Aldrich responded with a straightforward refusal. Your clan's intentions towards the villages below are in direct conflict with the ancient codes. I remain firm in my challenge. Whispers flowed among the assembly. For 3 days, the young man had contended against the clan's choice to seize the fertile lowland territories through force, referencing ancient agreements that many had overlooked. When words fell short, he had called upon the ancient privilege of trial by combat, a privilege that none could contest, no matter their lineage. Elder Thane Morvek advanced, his aged hands lifted to command quietude. The task has been embraced. Let the contest commence, and may the forebears direct the deserving sword. Kira initiated the attack, her sword gliding through the air in a flawless curve that could have taken down any typical adversary. Yet Aldrich moved aside effortlessly, his unadorned steel blade redirecting her attack with ease. They moved gracefully over the stones, the sound of metal clashing echoing in the air. Kira's technique was impeccable, refined through countless hours of practice in the clan's hidden combat styles. Yet somehow Aldrich mirrored her every action, as if he possessed the uncanny ability to anticipate her intentions before she even moved. As her irritation mounted, Kira intensified her assault with greater fervor. Her blade carried the revered markings of her ancestry, signs that were said to bestow power upon those of genuine Highland heritage. She poured all her rage into a powerful downward blow that would conclude the battle with finality. Aldrich lifted his sword to defend himself, yet the strength of her strike pushed his guard aside. Kira's blade glided over his left palm, leaving a delicate trace of crimson blood. As her blade met his crimson essence, the world shifted irrevocably. The old symbols etched into her sword burst forth in radiant golden brilliance, shining like sunlight held within. The revered symbols appeared to twist and change, uncovering concealed markings that had remained unseen for ages. The brightness intensified to such a degree that Kira staggered back, her eyes stinging from the brilliance. Yet, it was the response of her kin that profoundly unsettled her. One by one, each member of Clan Shadowmere knelt down in reverence. Elder Morvek's visage turned pale as he lowered his forehead to the earth. The esteemed fighters who had guided her from a young age now bowed low before the wounded outsider. Unfeasible, Kira murmured, her blade quivering in her hold. The symbols etched on her weapon throbbed again, coalescing into phrases in the archaic language, phrases that sent a chill through her veins. Witness the rightful ruler's arrival. Aldrich gazed at his bleeding palm, an expression of resignation crossing his features instead of surprise. He spoke softly, expressing his wish to steer clear of this situation. Once, Kira was unable to complete the words. The final descendant of the Dragon Lord lineage, Elder Morvek uttered his words. From his position on the ground, his voice resonated with a mix of wonder and dread, the lineage we believe to be lost for 3 centuries. Aldrich carefully wound a piece of cloth around his injured hand. My family has resided in the serene lowland villages for many generations. We sought to distance ourselves from the ancient rivalries, the bygone conflicts. However, upon discovering your clan's intentions to seize territories that rightfully belong to others, he merely shook his head. Certain duties must be upheld without fail. The consequences descended upon Kira with the force of a landslide. By the oldest statutes, those that existed long before the Highland clans, a verified descendant of the Dragon Lords wielded authority over all the mountainous realms. Her clan's assertion of authority, her family's influence, all that she had understood, rested on the belief that the royal lineage had been extinguished for good. The edge discerns reality from deception, Morvek declared, at last standing upright. The runes awaken solely to the caress of noble lineage. We must recognize his authority without question. As the circle formed, the other members of the clan started to stand, their expressions revealing a blend of astonishment, trepidation, and intrigue. A few of the younger fighters seemed poised to dispute this revelation, yet the seasoned ones, recalling the age-old tales, restrained them with pointed motions. "What actions will you take regarding us?" Kira inquired, her sense of honor clashing with the harsh truth of her circumstances. Aldrich pondered her inquiry with great thoughtfulness. "Nothing that your group decides for itself. The ancient methods of governance through domination and intimidation have long passed with my forebears for valid reasons, yet safeguarding defenseless communities from those who would exploit their authority." He gazed into her eyes unwaveringly. "The obligation persists, and should we choose not to recognize your assertion?" A melancholic smile graced Aldrich's lips. "Then you demonstrate that certain lessons are best understood through difficult experiences. Yet I sincerely wish it doesn't reach that point." Kira gazed at her blade, observing as the golden runes gradually returned to their inactive form. All that she had held true about her existence, her clan's destined position within it, had transformed in a heartbeat. The unfamiliar figure, the monarch, had not yet declared triumph in their confrontation, yet he had achieved something far more significant. "The villages shall stay unscathed," she declared at last, putting away her sword. "We relinquish our assertion to the lowlands," Aldrich acknowledged with a solemn nod. "Much appreciated. In due course we may discover a more effective path ahead. United." As the throng started to break apart, Kira grasped Elder Morvek's arm. "What made you identify him so fast?" The elderly man's gaze was filled with a richness of recollection she had never encountered prior. "Because, dear one, I was present on the night his great-grandfather passed away. I witnessed those identical symbols ignite when they felled the final recognized descendant. I never imagined I would witness their brilliance once more." In this lifetime, Kira observed Aldrich as he strolled away along the lowland paths, his modest attire and unpretentious demeanor remaining unaffected by the disclosure of his noble lineage. A genuine ruler, she understood, was not one who sought a crown, but one who embraced the weight of responsibility when the call of duty arose. The clans of the Highlands would have to adopt fresh perspectives, and maybe with the reluctant leadership of a king who favored the simplicity of village life over the trappings of royalty, they could at last discover the tranquility that had long escaped them.